All right, everybody. Whoops. Good morning. We're gonna take a few minutes to get everything settled. I think my video got a little bit stuck. Um, can you all hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, just hang in there for me, guys. I'm gonna be going live on Facebook and Instagram as well, but they don't get to chat with me, only y'all do. So that's the advantage of being here with me. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful turnout we have today. I love this. So that's Roxy shaking. I have the most ghetto setup today, by the way, guys. I'm on my couch. My computer is literally on top of two LaCroix boxes. I'm obsessed with LaCroix. I have my light over there. My iPhone's over here. It's like we're keeping it real and keeping it simple today. So give me just like I said, give me just a second. There's a lot of people coming in. I'm going to be broadcasting over on Facebook here in a moment. Let's see. So in the meantime, why don't you guys pop into the chat and introduce yourselves to each other. Let everybody know where you're calling in from. And then today, really, it's a check-in. I don't have any major agenda today. I don't have anything huge or specific to talk about. There is one thing that I wanted to chat about with you guys that I've been thinking about over the last week or so. But I also just want to hear how you're doing. I want to hear what's going on. I want to talk about, you know, what else I can do to help you, what kind of support you need right now. And I also want you guys to realize like this is a community as well, and that you can support each other. So there might be an instance where you type in what's going on with you or what you need. And then, somebody else might actually have the resources or the ability to help you. Um, you know, I don't have everything. I have a lot, but I also know that we're better when we work together. We're better when we participate together. So hang on just a sec. Technology is so awesome sometimes. All right, hang on. I think we're making this happen. At least it seems so. Okay, I think we're golden. Give me just another 2 shakes. We're almost done. Yes, awesome. Okay, we've got this. There's even more people waiting. You guys, this is so great. I love that we are all here together. So I'm currently live on Instagram over here. I'm live on Facebook here. And this is a Zoom meeting. So for those of you who are in my private groups, you have the ability to join me via Zoom, which means that in a minute after I go through some of the basics and things that I wanted to talk about with you today, I'm going to open it up to questions from you. We're going to chat. And Zoom it's a fun platform that allows us to actually have some face-to-face time, which is great, especially during this particular crisis, because that is at a premium right now. So I'm really grateful that y'all have showed up today. I'm really happy to be here with you all. I've been doing these Zoom meetings for folks for the last few weeks, and I'll continue to do them because we obviously need a lot of extra support. And I want to make sure that you all are doing okay. It's just, yeah, it's really important to me. And I hope that I've been of service to you at this time with some resources and ways to, stay sane, stay healthy mentally, spiritually, but also continuing to drive the call for you to support your communities right now. People need yoga now more than ever. They need you now more than ever. They need your work now more than ever. So I've been doing everything I can to give you some resources to help you go online with your work, because that's where the work is happening right now. So we can talk about that today as well. But the thing I wanted to start with, and there's so many people here today on Zoom with me. Melly is from Texas. Jake is in Long Island, fellow New Yorker. Hey, Jake. Rachel's from Illinois. Mala is from Ohio. Katie's from Brooklyn, another New Yorker. Love it. Brielle is from Pennsylvania. There's somebody from Oregon, but I don't see the name. Robin's from Florida. Another Robin from New York City. We've got Louisiana. San Diego, love this. Sylvia just started her 200-hour online teacher training with me last week. Welcome, Sylvia. Isabel from Gatineau. Is that in France? I don't know. And then Ellen, of course, from Pennsylvania. Great to see you guys. You guys might find that there are some people who are living near you. But even if we don't live near each other, we have this opportunity to hang out with each other. So that's pretty awesome. So I wanted to start today's meeting just by giving a little bit of rundown on something that I've been thinking about pretty heavily over the last week. You know, the situation that we're in. Oh, Christina's from Oregon. Hey, Christina. The situation that we're in is it's pretty unique. I don't think that really any of us has lived through anything like this in our lifetimes, right? There are some instances of it historically. You know, there's often references to the Spanish flu, you know, 1917 and 18. So none of us were probably around back then. This is a really unique time. It's a very different time. It's a very stressful time. So a lot of things have been turned on their heads. For you all as yoga teachers and spiritual leaders, of course, one of the biggest things that has been turned on its head is your ability to work, your ability to make money. Yoga studios are closed down, your classes are canceled, your retreats are canceled very likely. And that's not only sad, sure, but it's also very destabilizing and very detrimental to you as a human being, your financial well-being. So that's something that we've been talking about. I also received the news, an article, several people sent it to me, that Yoga Works is closing all of its studios here in New York City because of the pandemic. And I've got to be honest with you, I think that they might be just the first in what will be a very long list of studios. This is going to be very taxing on many businesses. Nobody planned for this. And so it's going to be very challenging for businesses to weather this storm. And my role, the thing that I can do to help you, is to make sure that you as individuals weather this storm. Or if you are a studio owner, I can help you to weather this storm with your studio as well, by giving you the tools and the resources to go online with your work, which is so incredibly important right now. We really have to do that. Even if you're in teacher training and you're not teaching yet, this is something I want you thinking about. And this is also something I want you thinking about, not just as a short-term solution, because I think we're going to be in this situation for a while, but as a long-term solution, as a way for you to leverage your business, stop trading time for money, elevate your income, be able to support yourself, and be able to actually thrive with your career as a spiritual leader and a yogi. So over the last week, I've noticed, and this can happen to anybody. I don't care how enlightened you are. I don't care how much yoga you've done. This circumstance is extraordinary and it's different. And I've noticed for myself, and perhaps you've noticed this too, I've actually been experiencing the physical effects of anxiety. And this is not something that is, this doesn't happen really. I don't have any historical, precedence of this. I don't have this happen regularly, but I noticed like a week or two ago, I was like, why can't I take a deep breath? I'm working out, I'm exercising, I'm trying to stay healthy. Of course, I do my yoga, and I couldn't really get a deep breath in. Or I would notice that I would get through a meditation and still just be really anxious and nervous and frankly kind of pissed off. To be real and honest. And the things that I was normally doing really weren't helping. They really weren't working for me. You might be noticing this too. So I did a little research and a little thinking about this. So here's the deal. We as human beings, as physical beings, evolutionarily speaking, we're not built for this. So our stress responses are built for short-term, very quick, immediate stress. So for example, if a bear is chasing you, right, that's going to happen very quickly. The bear is not going to be chasing you forever. It's going to be, not for a long period of time. And you go through that fight or flight response to get away from the bear or the mountain lion or whatever it might be. And then you're okay. You are done, and you can downshift into your rest and digest response to relax and recover. So the body is developed for acute high stress in short periods of time. It's not evolved or developed for long periods of low grade stress, right? So over long periods of time. And this is, we've all experienced this with our daily stress of work, our daily stress of having to pay rent, our daily stress of family. This is very much a modern cultural evolution. Is constantly applied long-term stress, and it does mess us up. It affects our hormonal balance. Our immune system takes a hit, which of course is not good. It elevates our cortisol levels. It increases anxiety. There's a lot of negative effects of long-term stress that are very well studied and documented. However, this is not a period of long-term low stress. This is actually a period of long-term very high stress. For lack of a better way to put it, our lives are actually on the line, not to mention our livelihoods are on the line. So there's some bigger considerations that need to happen here. And one of the things our bodies are doing are actually going into more of a trauma response for many of us. Now, if this isn't happening to you individually, it's very likely that it's happening to some of your students and your clients, right? I'm not alone in this, right? I'm speaking about this and what's happening to me because I believe that, I know actually, in fact, that I'm not the only one experiencing this. And if this isn't you specifically, it's probably your students or your clients who are experiencing this higher level trauma response where the classic tools of downgrading our stress levels just aren't working, right? Meditation isn't really cutting it. Even maybe our asana isn't really cutting it. Our practice of gratitude may not be cutting it. We may be feeling this sense of anxiety, this inability to take a deep breath, this tightness in our chest, this nervous energy, the mind racing. So I wanted to alert you of some other things that may help because, of course, you as yogis and spiritual leaders have an incredible toolkit that you can utilize on your own body, on your own self, but also with your students and clients, right? So some of the things that take this up a notch to help us relieve ourselves from this trauma response are the things that help to get at our unconscious. So the psyche is divided in a general way into three parts. We've got our conscious mind, which you as yogis and I know as the ego, our mental monkey chatter mind. And that's just how we interact with the world. It's the mental chatter that can take us down a downward spiral very easily. It's the mental chatter that can be the mind racing that prevents us from sleeping. That's the conscious mind. Then there is the supra-conscious mind, which you as spiritual leaders and me would often call spirit, the source, whatever is above us or beyond us. We actually have access to that. That is a part of who we are. We can tap into it. This is where inspiration comes from, those flashes of insight that seem to come out of nowhere. When we create a stronger bond and dialogue with that, we have more access to that type of inspiration and to that type of higher guidance, which is a part of us. And then, of course, there's the unconscious mind, which accounts for probably the largest chunk of our psyche. And much of what is embedded in the unconscious was rooted there in early childhood for better or for worse. Now, this may sound incredibly cliche, but this is your inner child. Okay, we're going to reference it as that for the purposes of this discussion. There's many ways we can talk about the unconscious, but I want to address it as the inner child because what's happening for any of us who are going through this more elevated level of trauma response right now is that there's a part of us that is being triggered, all right? And we know a trigger is occurring at any point in our lives, whether it be now, in the future, or in the past. We know a trigger is occurring when we have a disproportionate emotional response to an event, okay? So one of my favorite sayings is, and this is one you might want to write down. This is really good. This changed my life when I realized it. We are never angry for the reasons that we think we are. So when we have this big emotional response to something where we essentially go unconscious, our rational thinking goes away, we shut down, and we would, if we were 3 years old, we would throw a tantrum. But as adults, maybe we walk off in a huff, or we say something we don't mean, or we just start uncontrollably crying. Whatever is causing that is literally not the situation in front of us. It's actually dredging up something from within that was buried a long, long time ago. And what's happening is the current situation that is seemingly causing this reaction is reminiscent of an historical situation that we as a child were traumatized by and had to deal with. Now, all of us, we're all human, okay? All humans have triggers. This isn't unique to any of us as individuals. All of us have traumas, right? Life is traumatic. Some traumas, of course, are maybe more widely recognized than others, but I want to just say that I honor all traumas. I honor all of your traumas, whether they be, perceived big or perceived small. They've all had an effect on you. So this is great information for us as yoga teachers, spiritual leaders, really for us as shadow workers. When we have this kind of unconscious, deeply triggered response, it's a signal that there's an older part of us, and by older I mean a younger part of us or inner child, that it's actually it's needing something different. It's needing some nurturing right now. It's needing some attention, just as children do, or pets, right? You could think of it as your inner puppy. For all of us dog lovers out there, but we want to provide some nurturing to it. And I have to be blunt that not all yoga practices do that. A lot of yoga practices are very masculine in nature. I don't mean manly. Okay, this isn't a gender thing. There are two primary energies of the universe, masculine and feminine, right? They're just opposites. So a lot of yoga practices are very masculine and try to get at things in a very masculine way, in a very pointed and direct way, which can be great under many circumstances. They're not great under trauma or emotional circumstances. During those circumstances, we need a more feminine approach. And those approaches are going to differ from our classic meditation practice, which is a very masculine approach. Those approaches are going to differ from a very regimented pranayama, which is a very masculine approach. So I want us to just consider this, to open up the box, or think outside of the box rather, of the practices that we're doing right now, the practices that we're teaching and offering our community right now. We want to be responsive to what is happening now, right? For those of you all that know me, you know that my favorite mantra, even though, of course I love Sanskrit mantras, my most favorite mantra is, this is what's happening now, okay? This is what's happening now, and what we need right now are these more nurturing, feminine approaches to relax the unconscious response, to say to that young child within, hey, I've got your back. I'm here for you. Like, I am an adult in this situation. I am going to take care of myself. I am going to say yes to life in the best way possible. I am going to protect us. I am not going to abandon you. Those are the kinds of things that typically arise when we have a trigger. And again, a trigger is, you can recognize it when you have this large emotional response that's not necessarily appropriate to the current situation, or on the level of the current situation. So like I said, I was noticing this, right? I was noticing that I was having these symptoms of anxiety, and intellectually, I don't feel anxious. I feel very safe. I live in New York City, but I'm taking good care of myself. I'm saying yes to life. I'm doing the things that are required to participate in life in this day. And yet I was having these physical responses. And it just reminded me how important it is to always do shadow work, to always go back to the unconscious, to the inner child, and soften and support. So some things that I've discovered and that I do know work very well to tend to the unconscious are things like hypnosis or hypnotherapy. So I've been recommending that over the last week or so. So if you all use like streaming services like Pandora or Amazon Music or Spotify, it's very likely that you can simply search on there hypnotherapy or hypnosis. You can find hypnosis for anything, like hypnosis for abundance, hypnosis for relaxation, hypnosis for awakening, hypnosis for love, like lots of different things. And really it doesn't matter what you choose, you'll find one that you like. But hypnosis is specifically designed to get to the unconscious and to help it relax. So that could be a very useful tool right now. I highly recommend doing the Shavasana while listening to those tracks, letting the unconscious just relax. And then even simply at night before going to bed, having a bit of a dialogue with this inner part of you, saying, hey, look, like, we are in a super weird situation. Yes, this is stressful, but I have your back. I am here to support you. Do things that self-soothe. So that could be really powerful right now. So you know, I'm a big fan of yoga tune-up balls. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those or heard those, but they're basically balls that help to roll out. They're like tennis balls, and you roll around on them, and they help to roll out your fascia and your muscles. It's basically self-massage. That could be very self-soothing to you. Taking a hot bath and like really getting into it, you know, lighting the candles, putting the Epsom salt baths, or putting the Epsom salts inside the bath, putting the essential oils inside the bath. All of those things could be really helpful. So self-soothing, creating a nurturing, protective space for that inner part of you that is scared. Even though, you know, consciously, you might actually be doing fine and kind of powering through. I don't want you to ignore that inner child part. I don't want you to ignore that unconscious part, because I've also noticed, and you may have noticed too, and I'd love for you guys to chime in here. For those of you on the Zoom call with me, type in and let me know if you have been experiencing a heightened level of anxiety, if you have noticed any of these trauma responses in the body, if you've heard any of this from your students. Let me know if I'm on the right track here. If you have, let me know some of your self-soothing techniques and tools that you've been using. I'd love to brainstorm around what people are doing right now. That would be really helpful. So, you know, it's one of the things I've noticed is, you know, we are all triggered right now. We are all triggered right now. This is a very stressful, difficult situation. It just is. No reason to, you know, try to fluff it up or say that it's not. And when people are in this kind of constant stress, we don't really do very well. We're not really like cool as cucumbers, you know, we're not really able to mitigate or couch our responses. I find that people are just very much on edge, and we're kind of seeing the worst of ourselves to some extent. You know, it's very easy to make us angry. We're very quick to react and judge. It's very easy to go down that rabbit hole. You know, our practice, our yoga practice, many of us have been doing it for a long time. It has been for this time. You've been doing this yoga practice to help you now. It was easy before, right? But now is when it really matters. Now is when it's so important to keep up with your practice. And you might need to shift that practice a bit, like I've said, in order to be a bit more nurturing, a bit more feminine, a bit more, you know, emotionally supportive and helpful in order to get you through this. But that's the work, right? If we can't do our shadow work now, when are we going to do it, right? And if we can't do shadow work as yoga teachers and spiritual leaders, how can we expect anybody else to? I hold a vision. I mean, I hold a lot of visions right now, but I hold a vision of walking from this crisis, whenever it is, with more resilience, with more grace, and with more gratitude. And in order for us to do this in a highly stressful time, we're going to need to employ some pretty serious friggin' practices. And we're going to need to be pretty serious about our practice in order to really do that. So whenever that exit is, and I feel like it's probably going to be a slow exit, we want to do so with more grace and more resilience. That is my hope for all of us. That is my wish for all of us. And I hope that in the meantime, you know, as we're doing our shadow work, as we're finding the practices that help to nurture us on a soul level, that deep unconscious level, that we also share those with others, right? People who have been through major traumas, even little traumas, but traumas they perceive to be major, could be very, very triggered right now. They could really, really, you know, need this type of support. You guys are all on the mental and spiritual front lines of what is happening now. You know, we've got the medical industry who is helping on the physical front lines, and they are necessary, and I have deep gratitude for them. So if anybody's on this call or watching this live broadcast who are healthcare workers on the front line, we honor you. We thank you. And then you all here watching, we have our own role to play. We are also here on the front lines. We have to support others. People are having great stress, and you are primely positioned to help support that. So I just want to go through some of these comments here. So Ellen says she's doing lots of Epsom salt baths. I love that. Robin says her daily practice is helping the most. Brielle says she's practiced yoga, taken a bath, and chatted with girlfriends. Robin also says food. Yay to food. I love all of my friends. So I'm a New Yorker, right? And for many New Yorkers, their oven is used as extra storage space for things like sweaters and shoes. So to cook is very new and very unique. And so a lot of my friends I've been seeing, they've been doing like little cooking shows on Instagram Live. I've got one friend who every Friday she attempts a frittata with her 2 sons. It's pretty amazing. So food is a huge coping mechanism for sure. A shortened daily practice and Shavasana every day from Lisa. Lisa, I'm all about Shavasana literally any time throughout the day. So I want to open that up as another very nurturing practice for you, for your soul. Feel free to take a Shavasana anytime. I've noticed that for me, like around 2 or 3 o'clock, you know, my work day, I work from home. So it's not like I get to, I mean, all of us do now, right? But this is normal for me working from home. And I've noticed lately at about 2 o'clock, I start to hit a wall where I really can go no further. And so I've been taking like 2 o'clock Shavasana, where I'll go and do a Shavasana for 10 or 15 minutes. I'll do a little hypnosis or a little hypnotherapy during that, and then I'll come back refreshed and ready to keep going. So other things to help you. Robin says she's spent time outside, adult coloring books. Love that. I just ordered my, my astrology puzzle. There's a puzzle with like the zodiac on it. So I ordered that. That's going to be a thing that I do now. Gentle restorative yoga. Love that. Katie says she's been noticing anxiety, even though mentally she's not anxious. That's the body's response. That's when you know it's a deep trauma response. You know, another thing that I've noticed that has really helped me during this time that I've been teaching about and talking about over the last week is just 3-part breath. Like kicking it old school, taking it back and getting into 3-part breath, which is something that you likely learned at the very beginning of your yoga practice. It's super, super basic. Under normal circumstances, I'm a huge fan of Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. That stuff usually like, you know, it elevates me generally. But that hasn't been working lately. So I've been doing like 3-part breath, just placing one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly, laying down, taking a deep breath in, letting my chest rise and then my belly rise, letting the belly fall and then the chest fall, and just over and over these big deep breaths. That does help to relax the diaphragm. And relaxing the diaphragm is one thing that will help the body to kick down a notch its stress levels and its stress response and move into that rest and digest phase, as opposed to staying in fight or flight, which is not where we want to stay. Mala says she's had good and bad days. I hear you, girl. Don't go down that rabbit hole. Britt says she's been very anxious too, and she's been intentional with self-care. I love that. Lots of people are noticing anxiety. Katie's got a great point that she says she can't pour from an empty cup. So she's cultivating the light and keeping her cup full as much as possible. Rachel's experiencing a lot of emotions. And Mellie's doing a morning and night routine. I think that's very cool. I mean, we've got the extra time, right? So we don't have to just relegate our practice to the morning. We can also do it in the evening. So that's my overview that I wanted to chat with you guys about today. Like I said, I didn't have a huge agenda, but I did want to bring that up because it's something that I'm experiencing. I know that many of my students are experiencing it. So now let's chat. You know, I want to hear from you. How are you? What's going on? How else can I help you? You know, I've provided a ton of resources for you over the last few weeks in terms of helping you with your business, going online, making sure that you can not just survive, but thrive throughout this experience. You know, I want you thinking long-term with that. I want you jumping into the deep end of the pool and getting your business online. It's so important right now, not just for your ability to help yourself and maintain a steady paycheck, stop trading time for money, all of that, but because you have to serve your students right now. You know, even though studios are closed, your students still need you. So I want you to get out and help them with that. So who's got some questions or something that they want to chat about, anything that they want to ask me, any additional support that they need? What's very cool about this Zoom meeting is we've got folks from across my different programs and from within my different groups here on the Zoom calls. We've got folks from my Upward Facing Business Academy. We've got folks from the Kaivalya Yoga Method Academy, my online teacher training. We've got folks from the Modern Mystics Academy. Y'all here, and every one of you here is a spiritual leader, number one. So you all have that in common. And number two, you're all here because you are a part of this community. So you are not alone. This is an amazing, wonderful, extraordinary, thriving community. And there's a lot of resources, even just beyond me, here inside this community. So I'm really glad that you're here. Okay, so I'm going to do the thing where I have a little grid. I think I can see all of you. And it's okay if you're not on video, by the way. Like, there's no pressure to do that at all. But if you can wave, if you have an extra question, or you want to go over something, or you want to talk about something that's happening to you right now, if you have another helpful tip for folks, I'd love to hear it. So just give me a little wave. Nobody's waving. This is the part where I adopt a uncomfortable long silence and just wait because somebody has a question. Aha! That didn't take that long. All right, Miss Melly, I'm gonna unmute you and let's hear it. What do you got? What do you got for us today?
I actually have a question. So I have been wanting to do more yoga nidra.
Yeah.
You know, we studied about that in the yoga teacher training. It's something that's worked for me and I love it. But lately, and maybe this is what you're talking about, I find that I have a resistance to it. So I can lay in Shavasana for long. I can meditate laying in Shavasana as well.
Yeah.
But once I hit a different yoga nidra recording, and she says, lay still and don't move, I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm finding that I have a resistance, and it's similar to the resistance I had when I started meditating, but I wanted to stop. So do you have any advice on how I can work it?
I do actually. And Yoga Nidra it's definitely the bomb. Who here likes Yoga Nidra? Anybody ever tried it? Who here doesn't know what Yoga Nidra is? Anybody? All right, so let me give a quick recap of Yoga Nidra. Nidra is just a Sanskrit word that means sleep. So Yoga Nidra literally means yogic sleep, essentially. And it's not sleep. It's more of a guided sleep experience. It is designed to go more deeply into the unconscious. Fun fact, it is not an ancient yoga practice. It was created in probably like the 70s, I believe by Swami Satchidananda. So he thought it was a really great idea. He did it. Yay, it works. Awesome. And then people have evolved that practice over time. I also have my own form of Yoga Nidra that I do with folks that's really based off of hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and what I know about the unconscious and the power of the unconscious to serve up powerful images, symbols, and support for you. So, you know, Yoga Nidra it's like Shavasana, you know, times 10 is its power. And the thinking, and this isn't scientifically proven or anything, is that, you know, 20 minutes in Yoga Nidra is worth like several hours of sleep. So it is a guided experience. This is the resistance to it, you know, I think there's a couple of ways to explore this, Nellie. And let me just check in with all of our folks here on the Zoom meeting. How many of you right now are feeling a resistance either to Yoga Nidra, Shavasana, or meditation? Anybody? Yeah, so there's a lot of people raising their hands. That is completely okay. It does not mean that you're a bad yogi. It means that you're a human being. And practices like Shavasana, meditation, Yoga Nidra, they ask us to get quiet and be still with ourselves, which, to be honest with you, is not a silver bullet. Okay, it's not a panacea. It doesn't always work for everybody. And in fact, in general, people who are experiencing high anxiety or depression, meditation or Shavasana is actually counterproductive for them, because what it does is it leaves you alone with your thoughts. And sometimes your thoughts are actually a very scary and harmful place. So if that is the case, then you want to do things that get you outside of your thoughts, that get you outside of your thinking. So, guys, I actually talk about this in today's podcast that was just released this morning, about 3.5 hours ago. So, if you haven't checked out my podcast, go do it. It's the Modern Mystics podcast. And I talk more about this in terms of the koshas, the layers of the body. But we want to get outside of our thinking. So, Melly, my hunch is there's a couple of things going on. Number one, the racing thoughts, when left alone with them at this time, might be too powerful, and your body is giving you that signal like now is not the right time. What typically helps to get outside the thoughts, I do notice personally that having a guided experience can help, because it's somebody else's voice like coming into your mind and helping you through something. You might want to try a different guided experience. Maybe someone else's voice is going to be more powerful. Maybe somebody else's technique is going to be more powerful. So you can definitely try those other things. This is the level of both the Manomaya kosha as well as the Vijnana Maya kosha, for those of us who know the koshas. And again, that podcast is going to explain all of that to you. There's a couple of things you could do to get outside of your mind. So for those of us who are experiencing difficulty with our meditation, with our shavasana, with our yoga nidra right now, this is going to sound difficult at this time, but to be in service of others. So karma yoga is very helpful because it gets you outside of your own mind. When you're thinking about somebody else's well-being, when you're helping somebody else, it's very helpful. There are lots of ways to help right now. And I keep hearing in various different places that great advice from good old Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, that in times of trauma or hardship, look for the helpers, right? And it's the helpers that will inspire us. Well, you guys are all helpers, right? We are all in the business of helping others. So find ways to help. And that might be simply, working with your community and helping them, supporting them through this crisis. It could be supporting the local food bank in some way. There are a lot of people who are hungry right now. Supporting the pets who are in shelters in some way. There's a lot of people who are choosing to foster an animal right now. And this is actually in lieu of things like meditation or shavasana, because we don't want to be left alone with our thoughts, because the thoughts may be an unsafe place. So let's get out of them and work with somebody else and get outside of ourselves by helping others. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it, to get outside of your own mind, is actually through self-study. Swadhyaya, one of our favorite yoga practices. This is one of the niyamas, step 2, in the Ashtanga yoga path, for those of you geeks following along. And this is helpful because it's not self-study as in like, oh my God, look how adorable I am. Like my hair looks so good right now. It's not that kind of self-study. It's study of the highest self. So how do we get elevated? How do we elevate our experience? How do we elevate our thinking, our perception? So everything that we do in our courses, and I know that all of you here on the Zoom meeting with me, you're in some course, right? I don't know which course y'all are in, but you're in some course. That literal education is Swadhyaya, and it is going to be a very important practice for you right now, to get yourself out of your own mind, to look at different ways of seeing things, to learn about the body, to learn about the energetics, to learn about the philosophy, to learn about Yoga Sutra, where it's asking you to dedicate yourself to something higher, where it's telling you that these are the obstacles to happiness. To learn more about how the psyche works is very helpful in unraveling that hold that your manomaya, your mental body, has on you. Because most of the thoughts that actually, I'm going to revise that. This is a very important thing to say. The thoughts that come from our ego are not true. Basically, 100% of them are not true. And we know that because if we were to run some of our mental dialogue by people who love us, our best friends, our family members, would they believe any of that? Like if we had to actually say the things that go on in our head, would anybody else believe us? Probably not, which gives us a sense of both agency and liberation from our thoughts, right? We can liberate ourselves from the tyranny of them by recognizing that they are not our reality. And it gives us agency then to change them. So one of the most powerful practices that I know for helping to change the thoughts, which again is really, really where we're going when we talk about anxiety, when we talk about mind racing, when we talk about going down that downward spiral, we do want to change our thoughts. We do want to release ourselves from the tyranny of those daily thoughts. It's a practice that I outline in my book, Yoga Beyond the Mat. For those of you that have it, you've got that reference. And it's essentially a 4-part practice, which I wasn't planning to do this, but I feel like it's appropriate. Shall I teach it to you? Do you want to hear it? Okay, I got a big like this from Lisa. Melly did this. Yay, okay. So yay, we got a bunch of hands up. So this is probably, yay, we got a cheer down in the right corner from Robin. Thanks for that. Also, Melly, you have competition for best background. Robin might be winning today. Okay, so I'm going to go through it quickly with you. And again, there are resources that I have that write all this down. But so there's 4 parts, and this really arises out of the Yoga Sutra that I believe it's Yoga Sutra 2.33. Somebody can fact check that for me. But the Yoga Sutra is Vitarka Badhane Pratipaksha Bhavanam. It's not required that you know the Sanskrit. I'm just saying it for you for reference. Which essentially means that when you are disturbed by disturbing thoughts, think the opposite. Okay, now I've known this Yoga Sutra for 20 years, right? It seems like great advice. It also seems like really fucking flippant advice. Like, thanks, Patanjali. You ever tried to just think a positive thought? You can't just put a smear of positive thought over a whole bunch of negative thought. Like, that doesn't work. You really actually want to disempower the thought that is bothering you in order to empower a thought that may actually be helpful to you. Guys, Andrew Hoffman is in the house. What's up, Andrew? Nice to see you. For those of you that don't know Andrew, he is the lead mentor over on the Kaivalya Yoga Method teacher training, and he's been around for a long time. So when you have a disturbing thought, the first thing you need to do is actually identify the disturbing thought. Okay, now at this time, at this crazy time, there could be a huge litany, there could be a huge list of disturbing thoughts, but let's just start with one, okay? Now, the one that I often use as an example, which does seem trivial at this time, but let's just go with it, is I hate Mondays, right? Ways in which you can think about that are like Mondays suck, Mondays are always terrible. Those aren't the disturbing thoughts. Those are like statements about a thing. A disturbing thought will always have a feeling associated with it. So let's say that the thought is, I hate Mondays. By the way, today is Monday, and right now, Monday fucking rocks. Anybody else with me? I'm all about this Monday. We're having a great time. So this is an example, right? Obviously, Mondays can be great. So you think, I hate Mondays. That's the disturbing thought. If the thought is, today is Monday, like, and you're bummed about it, that's not the disturbing thought. Today is Monday is actually a fact. Today is actually Monday. That is true, you know, in most all parts of the world, except for in other time zones where it might be Tuesday. Today is actually Monday. So we don't want to go for the factual thought. We want to go for the thought that is causing a problem. Okay, so you kind of have to drill down a little bit to identify which thought is the actual disturbing thought. So let's say I hate Monday is the disturbing thought. So I want all of you to pretend with me right now that we don't like Mondays, and close your eyes real quick for me and just think to yourself, I hate Mondays. Okay, I hate Mondays. And as you think that thought, I hate Mondays, you're going to feel something in your body. We'll feel different things, and I'm going to ask you in a moment what that is, but you're going to feel some version of bad. Maybe it's a tightness, maybe it's a nervousness, maybe it's a tension, maybe it's a sense of cold. So when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. And for those of you with me on Zoom, type in the chat box, what did you feel when you thought, I hate Mondays? What came up for you? Now, I know that there's a lot more pressing stuff going on right now, so you might not have felt anything with this very trivial negative thought because there's a lot of other noise. But if you did feel something as a result of I hate Mondays, let me know what that was, right? I want to hear from you just to verify what's going on here. All right, so we've got, Nellie says, she says, heaviness and dragging energy. Robin says she felt a shrinking feeling. Brielle felt dread. Good one, Brielle. Mala said a pit in my stomach. Robin said restriction, pressing from outside. Katie said out of breath, like she was running. Lisa, tenseness. Britt, heaviness. Right, so all of these are some version of bad, correct? Raise your hand if you felt some version of bad. Okay, raise your hand if you don't really want to feel that way. Okay, got a bunch of hands raised. Right, we don't really want to feel some version of that. These stressful thoughts, again, stress has actual effects. Okay, this is science. You're welcome to go down the PubMed rabbit hole. But when you have stress, it increases your cortisol. Your immune system takes a hit. Nobody needs that right now. Negative thoughts that have this emotional response are harmful to your health. They just are. We got to do what we can to obliterate them. One little thought at a time. Okay, so we all know that with the thought, I hate Mondays, we feel some version of that. Now I'm going to give you permission for the next few moments, even if you do hate Mondays, to just not think that thought. Release yourself from that thought. So close your eyes, release yourself from the thought, I hate Mondays. Just, you can pretend. You're welcome after this to pick it back up if it's really important to you. But just for now, release yourself from I hate Mondays. Mondays are no longer a problem. Everything is fine. Mondays are beautiful. In fact, every day of the week is beautiful. And what you will likely notice is that you now feel some version of good. So when you're ready, open your eyes and type in, what did you feel when you decided to completely release that thought? Let it go. It's gone from your life. It's no longer dominant over you. Just for these few minutes, again, as an experiment, what did you feel? What was that version of good that you felt? Let me know. We've got lightness, expansive energy, lighter, liberated, exactly, empowering, relief. Okay, we felt relief. There's a sense of expansion when we have the good thoughts. There's a sense of contraction when we have the bad thoughts. This is really relevant and valuable information because we now see which option we would like. Okay, who wants to keep the negative thought? Anybody? There's a lot of head shakings no. Who wants to be released from the negative thought? Okay, so now you're motivated, aren't you? The other thing we can do when exploring these negative thoughts and how they affect us is to target which chakra they're affecting, right? And that's really easy. Do you feel that negative energy around this throat area? That is targeting your throat chakra. That is no bueno. Do you feel it around the sacral area? That it is targeting your sacral chakra. Also no bueno. When you release the thought, do you feel an openness in your heart? Your heart chakra will benefit. That's another level on which we can dive in with how these thoughts are affecting us. And again, the point unmute. All right, how about now? Can you hear me now? Okay, great. Sorry about that. There's buttons everywhere on this screen. So we can dive in a little bit deeper to feel which chakra is going to be most affected by this negative thought. That again is great information, and it tells us where in our unconscious mind this negative thought is living. It tells us which part of our psyche is harboring that triggered thought and what needs to be worked on and released. Okay, great information for us as yogis. So those are steps 1 and 2. Now, step 3 is to think the opposite. And what's great is that there's a lot of ways to actually make a thought an opposite, right? So the obvious one is I hate Mondays. If the opposite could be I love Mondays, right? Another way to put it is Mondays are the greatest. Another way to put it is I actually love every day of the week. Another way to put it is Mondays love me, right? So there's a lot of ways. So I want you to think about at least several ways in which the thought is in opposition, and then find truth to those ways. Can you think of any Monday in the history of your life that was good? I'll bet you can at least think of one. And if you can at least think of one, then the thought I hate Mondays is automatically not true. right? Because for something to be true, it has to be true 100% of the time. And if there's even one instance where that thought is not true, then we've got Patanjali's magic working for us, right? When disturbed by disturbing thoughts, think of the opposite. When a thought is found to be not true and you can cultivate the opposite, what you're doing here is breaking what I call karmic loops. This is so funny, you guys. So I talk about karmic loops all the time in my teaching, and I had a student of mine text me like a couple years ago, where do I find out more about karmic loops? Like, what text is that from? And I'm like, it's not, that's me. I just come up with it. Ain't no fancy text. Anyway, so karma, the way that our thoughts were, and karma is just thought patterns. It's not anything. It's not vindictive. There's a big misconception of what karma is in the West. But you can imagine, right? You've got this negative thought working and it's going around in a loop. And oftentimes even it'll spiral downwards, right? It'll get worse. So when we break a loop, when we disempower a thought, when we realize that it's not true, there is an opposition that is just as true, then it not only breaks the loop, because we don't just want to break it. We actually want to break it and spiral it up. We want to elevate it. And that's why we need to find the opposite, but we need to empower it with emotion, because it's the emotional component of that negative thought that was effing us up in the first place, not the thought itself. The thought itself is completely neutral. It's the emotion tied to that thought that keeps us in a loop or moves us into a downward spiral, okay? So once we've figured out a couple of versions of the opposite, once we have realized that there is some truth to that opposite, then we do the last step, which is we close our eyes and we feel into that thought, okay? We've got to give it some positive emotion. So pick your favorite version of the opposite of I hate Monday. Mondays love me. I love Mondays. Every day of the week is the best. Whatever it is, pick your favorite version of the opposite. And I want you to close your eyes and feel into that opposite. So feel into that opposite. I love Mondays. Like, Mondays are friggin' great. Mondays love me. Good things happen on Mondays. And what you'll feel is this elevation, this expansiveness. You'll feel something good. And so not only have you liberated yourself and broken the chain of that negative thought, you've allowed yourself to spiral it up and actually create the opposite that is empowering and positive for you. So that's how we then actually take Patanjali's advice, and you can open your eyes. That's how we take Patanjali's advice, right? Patanjali told us 2,000 years ago, when disturbed by disturbing thoughts, think the opposite, but it's not that simple. There is a process to it, right? You have to actually disengage the negative emotion and re-engage positive emotion with a positive thought, and that takes a bit of a process. So you can do this in a meditative type of practice. You can do this, or you can do it with eyes open, just as we've done, like in consideration, if eyes closed, like meditation isn't working for you right now. Eventually, the more that you do this practice, the more that you kind of go through the process, this 4-step process of disengaging and re-empowering the thought, the more natural it will become, right? So the really, eventually, all you'll need to do with a negative thought is think to yourself, is this true? The answer to that question, by the way, is always, in every circumstance, no. Whatever negative thought you have that is coupled with a negative emotion, if you ask yourself, is this true? The answer is always, 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 100% of the time going to be no. And when you start to prove to yourself with this process that that's the case, those negative thoughts start to lose their power over you. And it can become a very efficient process. So be patient with that. Do the whole process in the beginning, remember? So allow yourself to feel the negative thought. Feel what kind of bad it is. Locate which chakra it's in. Release yourself from the thought. Allow yourself to feel what kind of good that is. Locate which chakra it's in. Consider all of the ways in which that thought is an opposition, how you can oppose it. What are all the different opposite ways? Find the truth to it, those opposites, like the times that were true if anybody could prove that to be true, and then charge it up with emotion. Feel in to the positive, and that helps to break the cycle and spiral it up. So that could also be a very helpful tool for you right now. And it's one of my most favorite tools. And again, Patanjali kicked us off, but we needed the tools of modern psychology to really bring it home. So Melly, I hope that that's helpful. That was like the longest answer to your question ever, but I hope that that's helpful. All right, you guys, we are just about out of time today. Are there any last minute questions or thoughts that anybody wants to throw my way before we close out? Anybody? Is everybody happier now than when they started? Yay! Got some thumbs up. I'm so glad to hear it. You guys, I don't know about you, but I love doing these Zoom meetings with you. For those of you that are brand new to this, I've been doing it for a few weeks. Took me a while to get it rolling. I still have my super ghetto set up, but I don't care. I love participating here with you. I love the ability to see your gorgeous faces. I love the ability for you all to see each other, to remember that you are not alone, that we are a powerful community, that we are a community together, and we are, if I do say so myself, such an important community. Okay, I'll say it again before I close out. You are all on the front lines of the spiritual and emotional side of this pandemic. People are having spiritual and emotional challenges. They need you. Hoff wants to hop on. What is up, Hoff? Hi, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, dude, go. What's
cool.
up?
So I just wanted to, off of your Zoom point, I had a mentor call with someone new recently who is actually not on Facebook.
Okay.
And because I was like, sign up for join the Facebook group. It's going to be great, whatever. And she's like, I'm not on Facebook. So she was actually wondering if we could do teacher training related Zooms, but on like specific stuff. So meaning like, we're going to go over anatomy assignments, and I'm going to have Ellen Davies. I just see Ellen pop it up on my screen there. Hi, Ellen.
Great, Ellen. Hi, Ellen.
And
Also,
you're just the first name that I saw, and I know that you're in training. So, like, for example, I would go through an anatomy assignment with Ellen. And anybody that is in anatomy or is struggling with anatomy or has taken anatomy and just want to go through it again, that's fine. But like super specific Zoom meetings for teacher training students.
Yeah.
And I almost like mastermind, like breakout session type of things.
Hey guys, who thinks that's an awesome idea? Raise your hand. People are into it. And we don't have to just do it for teacher training. We can do it for my other courses too. So don't feel left out if you're not in PT, right? We're here for you. Here's what idea, and I want to pass it back to you. When are you going to do your first mastermind?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I need ideas for you guys, like, because I think the section that people struggle with most is anatomy. So that's the first thing that pops into my head. Yeah. And it's also kind of what I enjoy doing the most. So that's probably why it also pops into my head.
Those of you who are in the teacher training or in any of my courses, or actually I know that all of you are in one of my courses, what do you need specific help with right now, right? Because we've all got a little extra time on our hands. We as a team want to be here to support you. And by the way, this is not secret, but this is brand new information. We have a new mentor. Raise your hand, mentor. Do it, Melly. Melly! Yay! So Melly's going to be primarily on the mystics side of things. Hoff is primarily on the teacher training side of things. But you guys, all of these worlds collide. So you'll be seeing both folks in both places. They're extraordinary. So we want to know how else we can help you. Hoff, we're getting a lot of chats for anatomy.
I see anatomy, yeah.
That's for you, bro.
Yeah, that is me. Guys, and the other thing that I was just going to say, like that anatomy video that I did in the teacher training group is going to help you guys. But the way that I picture these breakout sessions working is more of an interactive method. Yeah. Because I can't have you guys interact. You can ask questions through chat on the Facebook Lives, but with Zoom, I can get you guys interacting with me more. So I think this is the best way to do it. And like you said, it's kind of the perfect time to do it with because everybody has time. So
I love it. Let's do it. All right, you heard it from the horse's mouth here first, guys. We're going to totally make that happen for you.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Jake, can you tell me about your mug?
is Jake?
Let's see it. Hold it up again.
There's Jake.
Yes. Love it. Bringing us some joy with the mug.
This is the nice room.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Sorry, you drank your coffee. I was immediately jealous because of the coffee, and then I was like, that mug has something to say. All right, you guys. Let's see, guys. I think that's it. Unless somebody else has anything they need to jump in with. I think we nailed this Zoom meeting. Good job, everybody. Totally killed it. And I want to wish you a wonderful, super happy Monday, because we all know Mondays are amazing. And if you give that 4-part practice a try of changing over your negative thoughts, I'd love to hear about it. So whatever private group you're in with me, check in, let me know how it's going. If you're not inside the highereducation.yoga membership, why aren't you? That's a great place for us all to come together, regardless of which course we're in, to support each other and chat. There's a lot of great stuff happening there. So please keep in touch with me. I'll be doing more of these Zooms. Obviously, Andrew's going to be doing more of these Zooms. So we want to know more about how we can support you and how you're doing. Oh, Rachel said, what group is that? The higher education. So go to highereducation.yoga/trial. All right. So it's the highereducation.yoga membership. Who here is in it? Who here is in the membership? Okay. Not enough of you. Is what I would say. There's a $1 trial. So go in there and give it a try for just $1 at highereducation.yoga/trial. It's 2 weeks. You can zoom around, see if you like it, see if it adds to your experience, to your day, and hopefully you'll join us. And if not, I'm glad that you are in a course with me. I'm glad that you're here on Zoom. I'll be here again with you very soon. Have a wonderful Monday. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I am here for you. I will always be here for you. And thank you so much for being a part of my community, guys. Sending you big love. Awesome. See ya.